Welcome, enlightened ones. Let's elevate. Some of you have been feeling something shift lately. Like the energy around you is changing. Like certain doors feel heavier. Like certain people feel different when they walk into the room. And maybe you have been wondering why. Because for a long time you were the one who tried to keep everything flowing. You were the one smoothing the tension. You were the one giving chances. You were the one holding space for people who never learned how to hold space for you. And you believed that being that person made you good, kind, loyal, strong. But nobody told you something important. Energy is not neutral. Energy responds. Energy mirrors. Energy records. And just like someone can block your blessings with jealousy, manipulation, or silent ill intent, you can block someone else's path too. Not with curses, not with revenge, not with hate, but with the choices you make, with the energy you tolerate, with the doors you keep open that were supposed to close a long time ago. See, most people think karma is some distant cosmic system that activates years later, but karma is often immediate. It moves through behavior, through alignment, through consequences, through patterns that either repeat or finally end. And when you keep allowing disrespect to sit at your table, you are not just hurting yourself. You are interrupting someone else's lesson. You are standing in the way of the mirror life is trying to hold up for them. Because some people do not grow through kindness. They grow through loss. They grow through consequences. They grow through the moment they realize the access they abused is gone. But when you keep reopening the door, when you keep explaining, when you keep forgiving without change, you accidentally become the shield protecting them from their own karma. And that is where many good-hearted people get spiritually exhausted because they think they are helping. They think they are being compassionate. They think they are doing the right thing. But what they are really doing is delaying truth. And truth always arrives eventually. The universe does not ignore imbalance. It corrects it, one way or another. You see it all the time. Someone who manipulates people for years eventually finds themselves surrounded by mistrust. Someone who lies constantly eventually cannot convince anyone when they finally tell the truth. Someone who uses people eventually ends up feeling alone, even in crowded rooms. That is not punishment. That is alignment. Energy returning to its rightful place. But imagine this for a moment. Imagine someone continues to mistreat you, dismiss you, use your patience like it is a resource that never runs out, and every time they cross the line, you erase the consequence, you explain their behavior away, you accept the apology without the change, you allow the cycle to restart. Now look at what just happened. The lesson that was supposed to stop them never arrives. The reflection they were meant to see gets blurred. The boundary that would have redirected their behavior never appears. So they continue, and continue, and continue. Not because the universe forgot to teach them, but because someone keeps intercepting the message. And sometimes, that someone is you. This is not about blaming yourself. This is about awareness. Because once you understand this, everything begins to change. You realize that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is responsible. You realize that walking away from repeated disrespect is not cruelty. It is clarity. You realize that silence can sometimes be more honest than another conversation that leads nowhere. And you realize something even deeper. Boundaries do not just protect your life. They protect the spiritual order of growth. When someone loses access to you because they mistreated you, they are not being abandoned. They are being introduced to accountability. When someone realizes their words pushed you away, they are being introduced to reflection. When someone discovers their manipulation no longer works, they are being introduced to transformation. But if that moment never comes, they never evolve. And you remain stuck in a cycle that slowly drains your spirit. That is why some of you have felt tired in ways that sleep cannot fix. Because emotional exhaustion is different. It happens when your energy is constantly being pulled into situations that refuse to grow. It happens when your compassion keeps getting mistaken for permission. It happens when your patience becomes someone else's excuse to remain the same. And eventually something inside you starts whispering, quiet at first, almost like a distant echo. It says this cannot keep going. It says something has to change. It says you deserve peace too, not just survival, not just endurance, peace. But many people ignore that whisper because they are afraid of what happens when they finally listen. They worry about being misunderstood. They worry about being called cold. They worry about being accused of changing. And the truth is, you will be accused. You will be misunderstood. You will be labeled. Because people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always notice when those boundaries appear. They will call it attitude. They will call it distance. They will call it ego. But what it really is alignment. And alignment changes everything. Because the moment you stop absorbing what was never yours, the moment you stop excusing what keeps repeating, the moment you stop carrying emotional weight that belongs to someone else's growth, energy recalibrates, your clarity sharpens, your peace strengthens, your space becomes sacred again, and suddenly something fascinating begins to happen. The same behavior that used to circle your life stops showing up as often. The same chaos that used to surround you finds fewer openings. The same manipulation that used to work hits a wall. Because when someone cannot access you the same way anymore, they have two choices: change or leave. Either outcome restores balance. But here is where awareness becomes powerful. Because the universe is not only watching how people treat you, it is also watching how you treat yourself. If you keep abandoning your own boundaries, life keeps sending the same lessons, not to punish you, but to wake you up, to strengthen your voice, to remind you that your peace is not negotiable, to remind you that kindness does not mean self-betrayal, to remind you that love does not require tolerance of harm. And once you truly absorb that, your entire presence shifts. You stop chasing understanding from people who refuse to give it. You stop explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding it. You stop shrinking your boundaries to keep temporary comfort. And when that happens, you stop blocking your own blessings too. Because sometimes the same door that keeps letting chaos in is the door preventing new opportunities from entering. Think about that. If your energy is constantly occupied by someone else's dysfunction, where is the room for peace? If your time is constantly spent repairing the same broken dynamic, where is the space for growth? If your heart is constantly recovering from repeated disrespect, where is the openness for healthy connection? Space matters, energy matters, boundaries matter. Because when you close the right doors, life finally has room to open the right ones. And some of you are standing at that exact moment right now. You feel the shift. You sense the difference. You recognize that certain dynamics cannot follow you where you are going. Not because you hate those people, not because you wish them harm, but because your evolution requires different energy. And here is the deeper truth most people never say out loud. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do for someone is step out of the way of their karma. Let life teach what your patience cannot. Let consequences reveal what your explanations never did. Let distance expose the value they once took for granted. Because growth cannot be forced, it has to be realized. And realization often arrives the moment comfort disappears. So if you have been feeling the urge to step back, to protect your peace, to stop repeating the same exhausting conversations, to stop tolerating the same patterns. That urge is not random. That is your awareness waking up. That is your spirit recognizing the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. That is your growth refusing to remain small just to keep others comfortable. And the moment you honor that voice, everything begins to shift. Not overnight, but steadily. Because once you see the truth about energy, you cannot pretend you do not see it anymore. You start noticing patterns quicker. You start feeling misalignment sooner. You start recognizing when someone is trying to place their chaos into your life, and instead of absorbing it like you used to, you simply step aside, not with anger, not with revenge, but with clarity. Because protecting your peace does not make you heartless, it makes you wise. And wisdom is what finally breaks cycles that kindness alone could never end.